Cool.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're only missing one person.
All right.
We're good.
And talking about this, or is it?
A little bit. Louise really has a little trouble hearing.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you very much for coming to attend our special meeting in the month of February on February 18, 2020. The City of San Marino appreciates your attendance. Everyone that's here, we certainly appreciate all the my fellow commissioners, the staff, the Recreation Department, City Council's represented. So thank you all for coming and attending this very important meeting to talk about recreation. So Citizens Interest provides the Recreation Commission with valuable information regarding issues of the community. Regular meetings are held the fourth Monday of August, October, January, March, April, and May. And so in compliance with the American Disabilities Act, any person with a disability who requires a modification or special accommodation in order to participate in this meeting should contact the City Clerk's office at 626-300-0705 at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, and the city will accommodate accordingly. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is now 7:02. And with that, let's go ahead and all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over for the roll call.
Sure. Chairperson Raymond Wu.
Here.
Vice Chair Hao Sutsugu.
Here.
Commissioner Melissa Buzel.
Here.
Commissioner Chun Yun Chen.
Here.
Louise Cook.
Here.
Stephanie Perry. And Timothy Yu.
Here. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi, Steve.
If you're going to sit in, I'm going to go. I just got back from Utah.
How was skiing?
It was good. I'll sit over here if you hear me snoring. Do you want me to pull the chest?
Okay, so with that said, the special meeting agenda is posted 24 hours prior to each special meeting at the following locations. You can find the agenda at City Hall at 2200 Huntington Drive, the Kroll Library here at 1890 Huntington Drive, and the Recreation Department 1560 Pascalito Drive down at Stoneman. So this special meeting agenda is also posted on the city's website at www.cityofsanmarino.org.
Roll call again.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and turn back over for roll call.
Okay. Chairperson Raymond Wu.
Here.
Vice Chair Hao Sutsugu.
Here.
Commissioner Melissa Buzel.
Here.
Chun Yun Chen.
Here.
Louise Cook. Stephanie Perry.
Here.
And Timothy Yu.
Okay, Robert, thank you very much. And so with that, public comments. So section 54954.3 of the Brown Act provides an opportunity for members of the public to address the Recreation Commission on any item of interest to the public that's within this commission's subject matter jurisdiction. And so with that, we'll go ahead and move on to new business. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to the Recreation Department, please.
Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad everyone could make it. It's a very exciting time. We're in the middle of re-envisioning the Recreation Department. Let me know if this helps. You have several items before you. And the purpose of the meeting today, I think, is we've had a survey. We've had the Blue Ribbon report. And I had a meeting last week with the Blue Ribbon Committee. We're having this meeting. So the purpose here is a brainstorming meeting to make sure that we're all on the right page. We're all on the same page and we're moving forward. And I mean, there's several factors that we have to consider, and one of the factors is, will Stoneman be there, will it not be there? So we're going to kind of develop both in case Stoneman is there, and if it's not, then an alternative. Based on all the meetings and the surveys that we've had, there's a lot of information that seems to be similar. And you have a document that's attached that kind of shows both of those, and I think that you saw that. I believe it's on your last page. And it shows a lot of the items that we have that are similar. And both marketing, the blue ribbon and the green plate, everyone wants more marketing and better marketing. And so that's something that's really important when we re-envision. And on both groups, they both want a sense of community. A sense of community is very, very important to both groups. And so when we're planning events and programs and activities for the community, we need to be very mindful of what the community wants and make sure that we ensure a sense of community. And the library is a wonderful gym, and now that we are, the recreation department and the library are together, we need to program, have a little more similar programming, and that's what we're working on. We had a staff meeting, a training on Friday, and we came up with several new programs and activities that are going to be related to the library and the recreation department doing things together in conjunction. We also there's a lot of issues with the preschool and the after-school program, and a lot of those issues may perhaps be solved by having a meeting with the school district. So I'm working on setting those up right now to see if they want to rent a space or if we want to share space. So there's those types of things that we need to consider. And I also know that budget is very important. We're not quite ready with the budget. We have the budget from last quarter, I believe it is, in front of you, but that's not what you're looking for, and I know that, but that's just some information. But we also are going to have to start working on the budget, but that's something staff will do. We'll bring it back to you. And so, and then we created another document also, which is this document here. And this here is basically sort of going through what we already have, what's new and proposed, and basically it's proposed based on the meetings that I've had so far. These are the things that I'm hearing. And so we already have an after-school program, but if Stoneman is eliminated, we wouldn't have a location for it. But if the school is willing, then by all means, we would have a location for it. But the trends in recreation are very much changing also, which is important to note. And in the past, people would sign up for a 4-week class, a 6-week class, and they'd pay their whatever amount of money it was, and that's how a program would work. But nowadays, parents are not really doing that. They're more interested in like play dates. They meet at the park, and a lot of cities are already doing this. Somebody runs the event, a city staff runs that event, the parents come with their children, the parents get to chat, the children play. So that's something that's very new in recreation. That's not what we're used to, but that's a new way to run your business, so that's something we're proposing. We also note that the teen, when you come to the library between 2:45 and 4 o'clock, it is packed with teens. And they're wandering around aimlessly. So it would be a wonderful thing to work with the library to gather those kids and start a small teen program here at the library. The recreation staff would run that, but it would be here at the library. Hopefully, maybe the school would also be willing to allow us some outdoor space. So those are things that we're kind of looking at. Esports, that's a hot topic with the kids, and the high school's doing a really good job, but the middle school and maybe the younger kids, we could develop some programs that are related to things that they're really interested in. Partnerships are key for us also, partnerships with the schools and partnerships with other outside organizations. So those are things that we're going to really work hard on, is to develop more partnerships, because I think we can do more with less if we have good partnerships. And going down to adult services, I've had several meetings with Louise and some other wonderful people in our community, and they want more excursions. They love their Smarter Living series, but they want more of those types of things. Something else that's really important to the community is wellness checks, and we haven't really done these wellness checks. But we can coordinate, again, coordinating and partnering with the fire department and the police department. They have access. So maybe with the volunteers that we get from the high school, I'm hopeful, that we could have phone calls made to their homes. So those are some ideas. Technology is also really important, and more enrichment with the adults. They really want more enrichment programs. And so those are the things that I'm looking at. And then the other thing that's really important is when the community talks about community engagement, they very much want more community activities, such as summer concerts. But we already have a very active calendar in our community, so what we need to do is start looking at what that calendar is. And these are some of the ideas that have come up over the last few months of what people want. They want summer concerts. They possibly want movies in the park. And that's become very popular with kids. And I think I have a way to do that with minimal or no cost. And because you can coordinate it with National Night Out. And you'd get a lot of people to come. And flashlight Easter egg hunt, that brings in the teens and it brings in the little kids, and you do it at Lacey Park and they have a flashlight and it's the coolest thing ever. And I don't think we've done that here before, but it's a really popular program, and the cost is next to nothing. It's flashlights. They bring their own. You don't have to supply them. So, but these are just some of the ideas. But one of the new ideas that we're working on is with the library. Many of these programs are in conjunction with the library. They want to do a story walk at Lacey Park. It's very cool. And they would set up these, I guess, what do you call them? Like wayfinder signs, but they're small. And you open them up and you put the stories in, like 12 of them or 20 of them. And the story is in there in a glass container. And then the librarian takes you through the walk through the park of each story. And the cost, next to nothing, but it's really cool. They're outside, they're reading, we're combining with the library. So those are just several of the ideas that we have. And of course, there's a lot of activities that we want to partner with the Chinese school and do a few more things with them. So those are like many of the ideas, but this is also brainstorming for you. So I wanted you to know that this is the way we're headed right now, but there's a lot more that I want from you, because once I get everything from you, and I'm waiting for something from Greenplay. And it is their final recommendations. So with the combination of that and what I get here today, I think we're going to have a document to take to council very quickly here. So I hope that explains it everything.
Yeah, so it looks like the final report from Greenplay, the final written report is coming April
Yes,
2020.
hopefully sooner. He did say possibly early March. So I'd like to have it. I may not get it as fast as I'd like it, but I'm hopeful, I'm very hopeful. So you have, there's lots. I have this. This is how we plan an event in our department. So I have them for you. You don't have to fill them out, but it just helps you think about things that are important when you're planning an event.
Is that perhaps a template? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a template. You don't have to write on it. You don't have to do anything. It's just helpful, I think. I'm sorry, I was facing that way. So I want your ideas, and one of the other things that's really important is we're going to have to make reductions, and that's really important to know that many of the programs that we already do, trends have changed. It's not really relevant anymore. So it's really hard for, we've done something a really, really long time and we really, really like it, but sometimes it's not, we shouldn't still be doing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a little painful.
For example?
Contract classes. I mentioned the trends in contract classes are people want to do yoga in the park. They want to pay $2 and do yoga in the park, and it's a drop-in program. They're not signed up. That's really popular in a lot of cities. We don't have that here. Here you have to sign up for your 6-week or your 8-week, and then if you don't show up, you don't get your money back or anything. So that's the trends. So contract classes, we really need to start considering moving them way, way back. Maybe we do some and make them more enrichment programs, but a we have a zillion contract classes. We have to look at that. I'm not saying we can't do some of them, but we need to look at what we're doing. And the kids love chess, but do they love chess or do they love the tournaments? We have to change what we do. In recreation, probably in many fields, we always say, you move the boat and change the bait. We need to constantly be moving the boat and changing the bait to see what the community wants, because the trends change. And we haven't done a lot of changing in the last few years, so it's time to do that. And we also need to look at the participation. The aquatics program has a very low participation. We love it, but it has a low
Are you
participation.
talking about the summer program?
It has low participation. But that doesn't mean it needs to go away. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying these are things to look at. Just start looking at, can we do something different to
Well,
increase
like-
the participation?
Like when you say the chess, it could be that you keep the program and then add the tournaments included.
Sure, you
So-
move the boat and change the bait.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily do away with contract classes.
Oh, absolutely
altogether.
not. I don't mean that at all.
I think we're all okay with things that are not doing well.
Sure.
To take another look at it, but there are contract classes that are popular
Oh,
in
sure.
this community, and
Oh,
you don't want
absolutely.
you don't want to get rid of those.
No, I wouldn't even suggest that.
Maybe enhance it. I think
Yes.
that would be a great thing to do.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not suggesting we get rid of anything at this point. I just want to open your mind to possibilities of changing what we do. I think it's important.
Could I have the, thank you. Thank you. I think that we have all the knowledge, and they say knowledge is power, but knowledge is not power unless we use it. So we've got everything from the Blue Ribbon Committee, we've got, our thing that we spend a lot of money on, and I think that I would suggest that anytime we consider a program of any kind, we hold it up to the litmus test does this class or does this event or whatever benefit the majority of the community? And I think, for example, it occurred to me often when I get this brochure, there is a disconnect. For example, on this particular one, I don't see anybody over the age of 6, and if you had, for example, events on track meet, there surely must be some teenagers there, So I would suggest that when this community thing goes out, that you have a representation of the entire community.
We agree.
Yeah, let's just
Yeah.
really work,
Yeah.
because that is your primary thing. And then also, anytime you do oversight or do marketing, I think it's really important to be specific, have your goals measurable, and have timelines on it. And this is sort of my mantra, because even with the city council, and Representative Toll, I'm glad you're here, both of you, because over the years, as I've looked at it, it's talking but not getting anything done. Like on Stoneman, they put that for the people who answer your surveys are not really qualified to even say anything about Stoneman or about farmers market, let's say, for example, because it's a city council who's got to tackle the neighbors and the traffic and all of that. So it's flawed in that regard. But I really am so optimistic for the first time that we're really getting a handle on it. I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed, that something positive comes out of that San Marino Center. And by the way, when will we know on that? You don't know. How about you, Councilman Todd?
No, we're exploring various opportunities at this point.
Yeah.
And because of various issues, I'm just not allowed to speak at it this time.
Okay, that's
But we are exploring all various options of what's in Stoneman
Yeah.
and the center, but
I agree. I think there are a lot of moving parts. And there are a lot of moving parts. and we're committed to make
Good, but
decisions
you're
on
committed
Stoneman.
to- even
We're
if it
committed to
takes
make
a year
decisions on
or what-
the San Marino Center, but, you know, we need
Yeah.
to get the moving parts so they align,
Yeah.
so that a path becomes
It-
clear.
All I'm saying is just, please, don't kick the can down the road. I know it's,
I don't
I can
believe-
really understand,
I don't think that
It won't happen.
this council wants to kick anything down.
good. That, I really feel really good about that. I really do, for the first time.
Yeah, no, we are focusing on, and that was the whole revision
Yeah.
process, where before we decide what to do with what, we just need to decide where to go.
Because you're the final decision makers, let's face it, on all of this.
Not at home.
No, not you, but I mean, the council.
I think this council works
Yeah,
pretty
the
well
council,
together,
yeah.
and we're committed to make the tough decisions,
Yeah.
because we trust ourselves, we don't know what the future holds.
Yeah, so just thank you for letting me say this, because it's really been on my heart.
Oh, I
To be
know.
honest, you know, as you probably know. And I just really feel optimistic, actually, believe it or not, because I think that recreation has a real role. And now that we're community services and aligning ourselves, you know, with the library, the potential is so good. So, so our part also, I think, is anytime we, as commissioners, or wherever we're doing, it's good for example, if we're going to improve marketing, then it's like how, you know, and then measure it, so that we don't just say things and then not get it done. So as long as we measure and move forward, that's kind of what I have to say.
Thank you. So are there any programs or activities that you would like me to start putting into the plan? Or are there any programs and activities you'd like to discuss before we?
Should I start?
So I have a question in terms of sort of like the guiding pillars of where perhaps maybe just recreation is heading. Has that sort of been established, for example, like, hey, let's build programs for a sense of community, and we'll try to maybe build programming around that. Has that sort of been established at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We're talking about the pyramid. We're also
Okay.
talking about the things that came back to us that has to do with the community wants a robust recreation
Right.
program, and they want a sense of community. So every program that we're considering are programs that build that sense of community, that meet the needs of the community as a whole. We're an aging community, so
Yeah.
we have to address many of our programs
Okay.
to the community that's here, which is an aging community.
Okay. So it
So,
sounds
yes.
as though then while, for example, like the city council is tackling Stoneman and the San Marino Center, we at least then have some idea of, okay, we know where we want to go because we want to build programming for the community, that there's a sense of community, so that way then it's not being held back because of some other logistical or administrative items, it sounds like.
You know,
Does it sound
if I
like-
were sitting in the corner office now, I would build a plan that
Right.
shows maximum utilization of Stoneman and what that looks like.
Okay,
And I would build a plan with no Stoneman
okay,
and see what that looks like.
okay.
That's what I would do.
Is that being done then in terms of?
We're working on that right now.
Oh, sort of a contingency, here's plan A, option A, here's option B, okay.
Yeah, absolutely, we're working on that, and you're tasked with that too, if you have ideas
Right.
that you want to share.
So when is that gonna happen, these ideas for Stoneman and the San Marino Center? Because I have ideas, but I don't think this is the place
I don't think
to.
that's the question of this group. I think the question of this group is,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
What does recreation look like?
When are we gonna talk about, like, Stoneman and
I
the
think
San Marino
the
Center?
assets of the city react and are prepared to execute the plans the city wants to do. All right, so I think if we see a plan for a great use of Stoneman, and if it's $3 million to get Stoneman up to snuff, then we make that decision. And so I don't think the decision should be, what are you gonna do with Stone and what are you gonna do with the city center? I think that the discussion should be, here's what we wanna do program-wise.
Okay. So it sounds as though then our plan will actually drive what happens at Stoneman and San Marino Center as opposed to the other way around.
I believe that's the case.
Okay.
People get frustrated with me, they come and say, what's the budget? And I say, what's the plan? Because there's never money for a bad idea, and there's always money for a good idea. So what's the plan?
Okay.
And if the plan is no San Marino Center, no Stoneman, okay? If it's full utilization and remodels, okay? What's the plan?
Okay.
I think we have an opportunity to do a little bit of dreaming and wishing, and we can develop something that we really see that the community would love. And then after we propose it, then, we decide what we need to keep going and what we need to eliminate. But if we stay stuck in where are we gonna do it, I think that we're going to limit the plan. So
Yeah.
I think I'd really like us to look at just exactly what Vice Mayor said. Stoneman and San Marino Center and,
Well, it does
Next
sound
surprise.
as though if we come up with a viable plan that seems to be acceptable to the community, that then there is some wiggle room on city councils, or to go ahead and be able then to, yes, we're gonna take this action because that's what the community wants, and Plan A seems, or Plan B seems like it's the preferable way to go. So,
okay.
Okay.
So, but I do think this is the time to share with us any new ideas, any programs that you'd love to see, what many of you are in the community on a regular basis. You have your finger on the pulse.
Okay.
And so if there's something you want to share, I think now is the time to do it.
Okay. Are you
do.
thinking that maybe we can go around and just share what we love about
Absolutely.
recreation?
Yes,
And I can start?
sure.
What is our timeline on evaluating daycare and after-school care? When we really evaluate it, because that's important. Is it going to be like in 6 months or?
I'm going to bring a plan to council I'm not sure when the next council meeting is, but within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going
that's good.
to, 2 to 3, we're going to bring a plan very shortly.
In terms of don't kick the ball down or the can down the road, please don't kick the can down the road. We don't want to kick the can down the road.
No, we don't.
I mean, but budget time is coming, and I believe trust me, there are going to be decisions made in the budget.
Oh,
And when I hear 6 months, no, this is not a 6-month project. This is a 6-hour project is what this really is in terms of modeling out what alternatives might be. It's not 6 days, it's 6 hours, but, some good thought process, Excel, and get into the weeds.
However, keep in mind that the Blue Ribbon Committee's suggestion in the end was the city does need to commit general fund money towards recreation. And we're looking at, as opposed to the existing plan, which is a 80% recovery, that we limit our expenditures to 1% of the general fund. So any idea you have, as long as it can substantially pay for itself, is a good idea. And so that is why you want to think about the cost of the program, the value of the community, the pricing of the program, and I think you'll find a city council who's welcoming that. And so if it works out, if you could pencil in numbers and say, well, we believe daycare will make you money where a nighttime Easter egg hunt will lose you a little money as long as the bottom line is 1% of the general fund. I think you're going to find support.
And if I were leading a planning session, I would start with a calendar and I would plug in first what other events are going on in the community, and then I would have different rows for, youth, kids, adults, and seniors, and I would look at what other activities are going on. I would start to plug in programs that might address the needs of this population on this month or this week in a period of time, and see where the gaps might be and how that looks. And then if there's strings that go through, you go, shit, we got a program here, and you model it out. And if nothing, no dots are connecting, you kind of move on to the next intersection of rows and columns. That's kind of what a planning process is.
But you know, my concern isn't just the money, whether it makes money or that, that's not where I'm coming from. My concern is that if you have, I asked, I think it was Angie, that you have 24 people on staff that are working those things, we have to ask ourselves, I've often wondered that are we really in the daycare business? Are we in the after-school care business? How does that tie in with the community, and the majority of the people are between, what is it, 45 to 60 or later teenagers, and then everything is really geared for the toddlers. And it's almost a matter of focusing your attention as much as money. I mean,
Well, Louise,
And,
know,
and I think those are critical questions.
I think
And
it's
then you
really
gotta look at-
critical.
You gotta look at who you're serving, which would be
Yes,
the little kids.
yes.
And are those families San Marino taxpayers or not?
Exactly.
And do the costs cover
Yeah.
that or not?
Yeah.
And then is it appropriate for the city to
Yeah,
have
for
that,
example,
that risk?
Exactly.
of
And
taking care of
also
kids?
the number of kids that are, how many of the children in preschool are residents? I mean, usually I'm not big on the resident versus non-resident, but it just seems to me that it is driving everything. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know, there's millions of dollars tied up in Stoneman. They could sell it, lease it, do something, but that's not today's topic. But my concern is the amount of energy that it sucks out of us. If you take that guideline of the community, the majority of the demographics, we have that now, that would not measure up to that guideline. So I don't know if I just wonder if we're in that business, to be honest with you.
well,
But isn't the preschool the only thing that's ever been 100% recovery?
Yeah.
I mean, the preschool is the only thing that's ever,
so what's driving it is the 85%. That's what's
Right,
driving it.
but I
See,
don't think
because,
Ken's getting at that. I think what Ken is saying, that's an example of the type of metrics that's used for programs.
But
So
here's
it's
the
one
thing,
factor.
it's morphed into that, where preschool and after school are the most profitable, so we go with that. Adult programming, I don't think you can get any profit out of that because they're seniors, they don't want to pay that much. So you end up subsidizing an adult program on behalf of what is a money-making program, which is the child care and the after-school care. So what's driving this is the 85% coverage that we are all faced with since, what, 2000?
But you know, the way I see it is, we're trying to build a community. To me, that's events like the 4th of July and
That's
a
a money
track meet.
loser.
Or maybe we could have a San Marino Day where we could have the people from Rotary and Chinese Club and Garden Club and all of them just set up a booth. So I could go and say, gee, I could join this.
But
or I
that
could-"
doesn't make
That's
any money.
building a community.
I-
I'm not into profits and.
But that's how the program is at the current
Let me
time.
interrupt. I'm the money guy, but I don't care about the 85%. I want to know what makes sense.
Well then, okay, but
And-
you're
and
saying that
because
you're,
We've got feedback from the Blue Ribbon and feedback from Cream
Right.
Play that one of the primary goals would be to do programs that build community. And Mr. Tall said, the city council's already, or the Blue Ribbon Committee said, "Nah, you got $250,000 at least for this." So I'm going, what's the idea? And please discuss and make your broad, good, sound business decision, because with a preschool or daycare, there are significant liabilities associated with that.
but they make money.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm
Significant
saying that
liabilities.
if we're dealing with 1%, which is what, 250,000? That's not gonna get you anywhere. Especially when you have administration plugged into this. You get rid of administration and let us just work with programming, then we may have a solution because, and if we are allowed to keep preschool and after-school care, we could subsidize the adult cares. Like I could tell you right now, down through this, Adult services, none of these are gonna draw profit. Special events, none of them are gonna draw profit. But I see things that do make profit, which is the preschool, the summer programs.
Come up with your plan.
Yeah,
Can I clarify one thing?
I mean, that's what we're doing right now, Ken.
I just want to clarify about the 250,000, the 1%. That's the budget expenditure city is willing to set aside, allocate to recreation as an expenditure.
That was a recommendation from the
From the Blue
Blue
Ribbon.
Committee.
Is that something you, as a city council, kind of go along with that 1%?
We have not discussed it.
We have not discussed it.
So we don't
because-
really have to find whatever you're talking about, this 1%, 250,000. That's just a recommendation from Blue Ribbon.
It is, and the rationale behind that is on a recovery basis. If you say 80%, you need an 80% recovery basis. Well, the city spends a lot more if your program is $10 million and the recovery rate is 8, the outlay is $2 million. But if you have a program that is $100,000 and the cost recovery is 80%, you're only spending $20,000. So let me just finish. So the decision was, as opposed to doing a cost recovery, let's reverse it and say, how much are we willing to commit at this time based, and nothing's written in stone, but how much are we willing to commit, and can we build a recreation program around that? And part of the issue was that, you know something, we're not charging enough for our city people. What's our price point on our contract classes? And so then you throw it together and see whether or not.
So can I use the other way, math way, to say, if I put it, the budget of 1.2 million and I recover 1 million, so my expense is 200,000, that will be within that 1%.
Well, yeah.
So as though my revenue and expenditure difference is within that 250,000. Can I use that way to think about budget?
That is one way to think about it, but
Yeah.
I will still go back to, what's the idea? There's
No,
always
the
money
reason I'm
there.
saying,
Because if you wanted to spend it all just to give away ice cream on a Thursday, that's not a good
No, I
idea.
understand, but the reason I'm saying that is because currently our recreation budget is around 1.6, 1.8, and our return is 1.2. So our gap is like over what you were talking about, a 250,000. So if I come out, the budget plan is 1.2, and I know I can guarantee my revenue to be 1 million. So my gap, I'm not talking about cost recovery, I'm not talking about percentage, I'm just talking about that amount. Between the revenue and expenditure, I have within your 250,000. Will that be something as a parameter we can work with? Because think about everything, the proposal on there, they require staff. But if I can do the things, the budget to become like 1.3 million, and I come out to 1.1 million revenue, then we are within your parameter of that, within that 250,000. Am I right?
You are making it right. You are correct. You're just looking at it a different way.
Yes, I'm trying to look at it a different way because as a city government, municipal city, we take the taxpayer money. That's why city do something as a service. That's why Blue Ribbon talking about that 250,000 is talking about the expense that our city should devote for community.
And the decision
So I'm
was-
using that way to look at the budget way because there's no way if I'm only going to come out the budget with 250,000 when you have an agency over 1.6 million. That's what I'm trying to say.
The way it'll work is if you get rid of administration. Let that go
No,
back to the city.
that's not going to be the
It's all
way.
in full cost, and
Yes.
I think you're looking at it exactly right. Go
It's not gonna
look for
work.
a $200,000 to a $400,000 deficit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We
Great.
could lose
Yeah.
250 is another way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And it could be 400, if it's a
Yes.
good idea.
That's what I'm saying.
Better the idea,
Yeah.
more
Why,
salary.
why don't you just say, let's work with the budget 1% and just work on programming as opposed to administration?
No, it's all in cost.
Because it's not gonna work.
Well, then,
I think the way, I think it will
I don't
work,
really
right?
think
Am I
that
right?
administration,
I think it works.
that should be part of the city.
No,
The administration. Administration.
built
the
in.
city has provided the facilities, you're paying zero is being allocated.
We're all part of you guys, you know that, right? We live in your cities.
I don't think you'll be able to sell to a majority of the council, not including overhead.
You're overhead.
Demand.
You know, everyone's
Yeah,
overhead.
no,
So
but
I'm
they don't get
thinking
paid.
like.
Okay, I'll give up my salary.
Yeah, no, it,
All of it, all of it.
Did you get all
Yeah, good.
Okay, so let's have,
no, I
Let's
want,
be
I
very
just want to go back to
concrete.
the budgets because I want to go back to the baseline, which possible to be
Well-
able to do. Because there's no way the agency can quickly downsize all your staff to maintain the same service. And as you were talking about the comparison of existing and new idea, many of them can using the same staff to do. And you are trying to reduce the administrative cost by not to do some contract class, reduce something not making profit. So if I using the 2018-2019 budget, it's clearly that if I reduce few of the program, I can reduce my budget right away and then maintain the most profitable, which is the daycare,
Yeah.
childcare, preschool program, because that's, if using the 18-19 budget year, they are like the 127% recovery rate for sure. As long as I maintain three of them, just changing a little bit and maybe adjust between the adult and teen program, because I don't think we need to spend time on what you already done as a program expertise about proposing plan. I'm not going to spend my time to go say, did you propose correct one? You should know the best about as a staff. You know the program, you know the need. But what I want to know is that based on that 1.6, what's the potential part you think you can downsize to 1.3? Because it looks like our revenue, we should be able to raise 1.1.
Yeah.
So if I can reduce to 1.3, you're able to raise 1.1, I'm within that goal. They are about within quarterly expense.
And then on top of that, we're also planning on increasing cost and non-resident fees.
Yes,
those
so you're gonna generate more
combination is
fees.
gonna
So from the
help.
way I can see that your contract service will reduce some, but your special event, you're probably adding some,
Yeah.
because some of them should charge a fee, where we shouldn't do all free. And then your senior program, you can add on, it's okay, because some of the programs are free.
Yes.
You're doing a lot of workshop, doesn't require a lot of administrative costs. I don't think the budget's that hard to come up, and you probably already have idea.
We do.
So I really don't think we should overstep on the one that you already know what to do.
yeah, so where is the department in terms of being able then to have that vision of, okay, we think that these are the programming that will get to, say, Chen Yin's number, and we think that we can probably maybe do away with some of these. Where's,
We've been having some meetings on that, and we're
Okay.
getting very close to eliminating or changing, or,
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on that.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The sense after I hear what you say and look at the number, I think you're already very close about where you are. Unless you want to ask us, say, there's certain program you want deciding where they should let go, you want our feedback, then maybe you ask us. But other than that, the one you know for sure will generate more money, everything, I would recommend you just move forward on that part. Because our
And
gap
I
just a
wanted
little
your
bit.
feedback on all of those things before I move forward, so.
So what sort of feedback do you need from us then? Do
I
you want,
wanted to, the budget, that was very important,
Okay.
to hear what you had to say. I'd like to know if there's any additional programs or activities that you've been hearing, you've out in the community, and people have said, how come the recreation department doesn't do this? So let me know that. And that's basically more of a brainstorming. I want to make sure after this meeting that I'm able to go back and work the budget, work the programs, and make a proposal. I need to do all three.
Can I ask one more question regarding the partnership with the library and some of the library expense? Can we
Oh, I'm just
redirect the
gonna add to the
budget to library
recommendation.
expense instead of staying the recreation, or they are together?
I think that's possible because there's a program that, we use a program called RecTrack right now.
Yes.
And RecTrack is a very standard program, not a lot of bells and whistles.
Yeah.
However, there's a program out there called ActiveNet that is a very cool program, and it's got all the greatest technology. If we could find a way to bring the library in and share the cost, because they could use it also
Yeah.
for facility rentals and things.
So that would reduce your admin cost.
It would
by
very
sharing
much
with the
reduce it,
library.
and it
Okay.
would also give, one of the things the Blue Ribbon Committee asked for and other people have asked for is a lot of information on the budget and transparency, and that, you could pull that information
Yeah,
up.
it's a database management that will be easier to pull the
Yes.
object code, everything
Yes.
around the report.
Yeah, and it goes directly to City Hall and to the budget, so everything is connected. So if we could find a way to make that work, then I think that we'd have a lot of possibilities.
Okay. I think Commissioner Howell, and Commissioner Tim, did you have a question as well?
No, clarification,
Awesome,
good
okay.
job.
Okay.
Now I get it, I actually get it.
Okay.
I
Actually,
used to work the state budget office.
actually, I agree with Chun Yen to just keep the ones that are very popular and make, that makes, or at least doesn't lose any money, I should say. And then look into, like, if I were to go down this list, I mean, I like the idea of play dates if it doesn't mean that we're taking away from another program.
No, we wouldn't.
Teen Center, I don't know if you know, we had a teen center.
I know, but
and,
it was
the
different.
city got rid of it.
Yeah, but it was different.
Okay, so it's gonna be
Yeah,
something.
Let me clarify, the teen center was losing money because that time we were trying to bring I feel I'm so old now. There's a track home there, we try to get teen go there, but nowadays it's not that way. So I really think, one thing I do want to add on that, a lot of teens, especially middle school, they hang out there because their parents cannot pick them up until 5:30. And the kids just don't want to be in any program within 1 hour. So if you are able to come up something, get into willing to send only $2, whatever, you're gonna generate revenue no matter what, because they are hanging around there anyway.
And-
So, but those are the programs I wouldn't want you to put into recreation. I'd rather you put in with the library. So that doesn't create your administrative overhead. Because they are in the library property and they are doing the computer lab, they should do homework, they should do with the library. So
That's a good-
that way
Got it.
you don't put adding another programming called with
And
your
I'm pretty sure
expense.
the library would take.
And that's
on that.
another thing. You want to build a community, somebody have to take responsibility. So it's everybody have to chip in as a part of community. So once you say the kids step on my library, you either join the program or you're out of the program.
Right. Yeah, that-
So once you make that enforcement, other city does that. They all have to pay and join. Otherwise, they cannot hang around in the library property.
Well, actually, I mean, it's a good place for the kids to be. Otherwise, they'd be roaming the streets.
Right.
And you don't want to do that.
And we have some really good ideas to get them engaged,
Okay.
so.
So I just want to make sure that some of the adult program, senior program, teens program, if the library currently can take on, they can be a collaboration, but not creating administrative overhead to recreation, so you can reduce your budget on the admin part. And just like the database you're talking about, the programming you're talking about, even the flyer, the cost of the sharing, those flyers, if library can print, that should be library's budget, not on the recreation budget. So there's a way to put aside, because recreation doesn't have the friends of a library.
No, we do
They do
not.
fundraising.
Yes.
They could do it, but recreation department cannot, because we're CD entity department.
and they would know
So
teen
there's a
programming.
way you can kind of redirect your budget to that side, and that will probably already save you some of the money.
Yeah, and I can propose those ideas too.
And I think that's a good idea. It's just that transfer that responsibility to the library. And then,
Do you want to, oh, sorry.
Yeah, actually, I wanted
you
to.
want me to come back?
No, go ahead, finish, and then.
I don't know. I was just going to say, we could do things like the senior or adult services and adding to the special events. If we have some sort of a slush fund like the general fund, 1%, I would recommend more, but if that's all that we're going to get, I guess we could work with it. But then it opens up, like what Louise was saying, it opens up the opportunity of things that don't make money. And we could bring that in as a community service.
But I think that's okay, right? Because
Yeah, but
I think that's
we
just
get
one
dinged
factor.
if we go over 1%, so we need to be cautious about that. That's if we go into
The
that.
1% isn't firm.
I think
I know.
1% is not.
I know, but
so-
I'm saying that, I think that, do we all agree that that's a good idea? I mean,
Yeah,
I think
I
so.
think the cost is really, am I correct? Cost is one factor to consider, because if someone said, oh, July 4th, that event at Lacey Park doesn't even need it, I'm not sure the city will do away with it, just because
no,
it's.
they won't,
so-
because they
Right,
want
I think
their
it's
own
one factor
things.
out of many, and I think the other factors would be, does it build community?
But here's the thing is, when we go over that 1%, are you the one that's going to say, oh, but the 4th of July doesn't make any money, so that would be an exception to the rules?
No, but I think it's all these factors.
No, I'm just saying because, we always get dinged by going over, even though we got
I don't know.
85% cost recovery, we're still getting hammered by the council.
But I think council's point is, even if we go,
I mean, look
even
at
if we
it,
read it, but it doesn't make, we also,
Okay, hey, can I hear, I do have, I'd like to hear from some of the younger,
What, you don't-
parents and younger children.
I'll hide my wife.
Yeah, let's go this
Yes.
Melissa's got younger stuff.
Yes.
Some of you know I don't have younger children. I have now aged out and I'm an empty nester. So I have a much different perspective now. And anything that's happened in San Marino has always been a grassroots kind of an effort. I get flyers in the mail. Well, for example, I'm part of now San Gabriel Country Club, and they have these great events, and they're advertised, and they come to me via email. They're now coming in the mail, and until someone reached out to me and said, hey, let's go to the dueling pianos. It's going to be really fun. I wouldn't have gone. But when you have someone who's reaching out and saying, hey, let's go do this, then that kind of creates that grassroots, and it gets more, like Louise, I'm sure you have a big number of people that you say, hey, let's go do this activity. So that's why the senior programs, you probably have a lot of people doing it. So I just feel like with the rec department, we need to have more of a grassroots program where we have key people, like someone in the PTA, saying to all the Carver kids, Carver parents, hey, we're doing this new class, we need to do this, or this is the hot new class. And you know, same thing at Valentine, you need to have these key people who are creating this grassroots kind of, and you can send all the emails, you can send all, but until you have someone actually reaching out and saying, we need to do this is great. Or I know when I first moved here and someone reached out and said, we have these great movies in the park. And I didn't know anyone here. I had little kids and I thought it was the greatest thing. And it's like, okay, I do like this place. This is really cool. So we're talking about marketing. I just really feel like you need to have that individual connection, and that's where I feel like we've really lacked in the rec department, is that we can't put banners up in the medians anymore. So a lot of things that you get in the mail you just kind of toss and don't really pay attention to, but until you have that person saying, hey, let's go do this, so I just think that there needs to be more of a grassroots kind of a campaign for the rec department and the events.
That makes sense.
So I think that's kind of key in making the programs work. The commission, we've never been asked to come up with programming. That's always been the staff who's done that. So we haven't ever said, oh, we need this class. We've given input, but we've never been tasked with creating the programs, and that's not our expertise. We need to be more of the grassroots, where we're saying to our peers, let's go do this, let's go do that. This is a great thing that's happening. I love the idea of concerts in the park, that using the assets that San Marino has that I typically wouldn't go use, but if somebody says, hey, there's this great concert that's happening in the park, or a movie in the park. So I just feel there needs to be much more of a grassroots kind of a deal. That's
That's a great idea.
Thank you. Yeah, really good.
Melissa?
I completely agree with that, although this is going to make me seem very old school, but just in thinking about how I get a lot of my information, I tend to get it from the newspaper, from the Outlook in particular. I think it's the 1 5-minute segment I have a week to sit down and flip through and see what's going on in the city, and sometimes I pick up the Pasadena Outlook as well to see different events that are happening. So I don't know if there's a way to coordinate with the Outlook at all to just get, especially if there's an event coming up.
Well, the Outlook is now merged.
Oh, the same. Okay. For me, it's just easier as a busy
quick
parent
glance.
to just take a look, figure out what's going on, put it in my calendar and commit to it. I find a lot of times when I'm talking to other people about things that are going on, I say, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then it just sort of, slips my mind and it doesn't end up happening. So that was just sort of in terms of getting information and marketing and putting the word out there. One thing that I focus on. The other thing that I love all of these ideas. I know they're not all necessarily feasible, but I think it's an excellent brainstorm. I could not agree more with the idea of focusing on drop-ins as opposed to contract classes. Both, I have an almost 1-year-old and a 6-year-old, and then myself and my husband, both for adults and for children. I mean, it's just, when I first started with y'all, however long ago it was, a couple years ago, I guess now, we were doing a ton of contract classes. I had 1 child then, I could commit, we did it, we showed up. Now with the second one, it's just like, oh shoot, I've missed another, and we don't even do contract classes anymore. But drop-ins, whether it's play dates at the park or just little special events here and there, I think are a really great way to focus. And I think it's definitely more realistic in this day and age, so that people aren't just, throwing their money away and then never coming back. Yeah. And I've heard that from other people that have signed up for classes and they've gone to the first or second one, and then sometimes they don't like it and they don't come back, and then they never come back, and sometimes they just can't make it, and so it ends up sort of just being a waste, and it drives people away. So I think that's excellent. Also, just on the drop-ins, yoga at the park, I think other fitness type programs too are always for adults, just things that you don't have to commit to, I think are something to think about, whether it's Tai Chi or, one of the points that Greenplay certainly made that is definitely reflected in your proposals are emphasizing using Lacey Park, because it's obviously a resource that we have in the city that is just so amazing and, highly regarded, highly used. I think anything that's at Lacey, as long as it's marginally interesting, I think you'll get people out there. So yeah, but I think this all sounds wonderful.
Especially if we ever finish that bathroom.
That is true. That is true. I always go to the bathroom before I come, and just, I leave when I have to go again. But yeah, so. But thank you for the work on this. I think it's really wonderful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Tim, you want to? For what it's worth, I missed my fishing derby.
Okay.
I know that thing's
That's
expensive.
very expensive.
But here's the thing, and I think maybe it goes towards the 1% or cost recovery. And Kim, maybe to your point too, if there's an event that really draws out the community, at least my thought is the city council will consider it, and they're going to consider those things because I believe the city council, in addition to all their responsibilities with managing the money, also takes account for how well the community is performing and getting together with each other. Because one of the things with the fishing derby when I first came, didn't know anyone on my block, but then realized that, you know what, these people not only are catching the fish, they're filleting it right there, they're frying it up, and people are
Fish
eating it right
tacos.
there. Absolutely, and so these aren't people that you would interact with necessarily on a day-to-day, but then you find out, I'm a surgeon at so I'm great with the knives. I can fillet this fish in like 2 seconds, and so they do it. So you create a conversation and things like that. But those are things that I think is perhaps one of your guiding posts to helping them to develop programming, is there a longer-term vision for this, not just simply for, say, cost recovery or how much money are we making, do we subsidize, but rather are we building towards a better community such that then there's cohesiveness. For the young people, for the elderly, to make sure then that everyone then's needs are taken care of. Because one of the things that I've had conversations with many of you is, these are taxpayers. They pay money to the city, and so are they then getting back what they think they deserve, and also. So my thoughts are, continue to keep up the good work with that, and absolutely use that as one of your perhaps guiding posts, right? Is there a long-term benefit of this that will sort of bring together the community?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to add to that before we sort of move on?
So, so you have some recommendations from us.
Sure.
One of my,
really good points.
my other recommendation is to separate the youth service, or the services programming from the special events. Because those are things, special events are, like Chen Yin said, are very costly. But it's something that the community likes. Like, I agree with the fishing derby. It was sad that it went away, but it left a lot of good memories from when our kids were young and first time they fished, and then now they're a fishing avid fishing person. But those are expensive. I don't know how much that was back then. I didn't even know.
Expensive to take that whole stock.
But you know, maybe it's something to
But there's other
consider.
events that would be somewhere.
Yeah, like I see right here, the summer concerts. I think those are great ideas. I don't think you're going to make a lot of money, but
No.
it's something that the
But it
community
brings the
will like.
community
Yes,
together.
it's kind of a community, bringing community together, and I think it's a great idea. And money shouldn't be a factor on those. But when you're talking about, you know, what is successful as far as recovery of funds, keep those like adult and youth services together. Separate the special events. I think we do anyway, do we?
We do.
Yeah, so just, my thought is to just keep that the same.
Okay.
And then we would tackle the services. And,
Yeah, we could
The
have our-
concerts at the Old Mill, are those done, who are those done through?
The Old Mill Foundation.
Do they make money on those, or do they?
You know, I do not know.
Do you know how the
off top of my head.
attendance?
We just completed a new MOU with them.
Yeah, they have to sell the ticket and fundraise, and they, yeah.
Has the attendance been good for those? Does anyone know?
I don't know. Well, we can reach out.
Because they're in charge of their own boss.
It all depends on who the band is, right? If you get some burnout Duran Duran, I bet you're prepared. We could have an old cello. I mean, but that's what I'm saying, it's the talent that's
Can I
gonna sell
get
it,
in on that?
right?
I've got some ideas. Okay, folks, I'm gonna go take this old wrecked body home. But thank you all, and you know, just so you understand, as you may recall, we had a lot of pressure at various meetings with respect to it, and the recreation department, we decided that we needed a re-envisioning, and that's why we brought on the Blue Ribbon Committee to take a look at it. And the council as a whole would like to see it work, but work in a way that's sensible, not just for those that use the rec department all the time, but those that may only support the July 4th. And so what you come up with the help of the city, is valuable for the continuance of the recreation department. Don't get so bogged down on the 1%. But don't get so bogged down on it, because as Ken says, if it's a good idea, it's something worth spending money on. No, Al, I don't need a response right now. You see me standing, that means I'm about to. It's really simple. No, go ahead and send me an email.
You do this to me every time.
I know.
He's a good politician.
It's 3 minutes. But I appreciate you working hard on it, and coming up, we're just trying to take a new look at this, making the price point make sense for the community as a whole, and also, most importantly, building a vibrant recreation department that people will actually use, and with the help of staff, we're beginning to do that. Okay?
Go get some sleep.
I will. Good night.
Can I just give you some of the, I see your list of the event in entire city. The Arbor Day is March 12th, it's not April 12th. And I know you list out some of the Chinese Club event, the September is the Mid-Autumn Kickoff, and November, that's MAF. Maybe you want to also look into City Club and Rotary Club, they have summer event. I know City Club every year around November, they will do with the Rose Princess, and with all the inviting the grandparents.
Okay.
And I think that'll be a great way to become the program, not necessarily expense, but you could add in that into you. And I know the City Club and Rotary Club, they sometimes they also arrange some of the very good subject. Sometimes they invite very good speaker, like a hospital, the doctor, good. So I think in a way of a collaboration of our city is so small, not necessarily everything has to be planned by your department, but if some of the current social group are planning something and that related to the senior, related to the adult, related to wellness, so there's a way we can all do the event together, not necessarily all have to separate out by the city.
Collaboration.
Because I know Rotary does weekly, Thursday, they always invent very interesting subject. Some of them could be really collaboration with the city. There's no cost to the city, but it could be your programming. And the one thing they were talking about the marketing, I know a lot of parents right now, because you always pick up kids very busy, they still pick up flyer from library. That's still the easiest way. The program book, we have it, we did one time, and then the program book disappeared. And then you want ongoing, if you do plan to do a lot drop-in class, and maybe you can consider partner with the library, because I know a lot of kids are now doing the YouTube, eClip, and the video game, whatever, if they can be part of a library group. So not necessarily recreation program, but because they can do that, they are in this facility, and I know summer is coming, and usually they do their summer reading program. So those programs actually collaborate with the school teacher, because teacher actually require the kids go to the reading program and submit that as their summer project. So there's a way we can make it all work together, not necessarily adding the cost to recreation department, but the kind of collaborate with the library, because I think the sense of this revision of a green play, we want the sense of a community, right? Library become the focal point. Unfortunately, recreation, the Stoneman was very far. We don't even know where that program will still be there. So I'm just saying that if this budget can be focused on utilize this as a focal point, the library can be the focal point, San Marino Center can be focal point. If we can really work closely with the school, I think information can be easier. Because I know recreation department always try to send information, go to PTA can send it out, but it get buried because that email is so long, and then in the very bottom you have to click. So let's talk to school. Is there a way that they are willing to work more? Allow you guys go there in a monthly PTA meeting, always designate time for the
I think each PTA needs to have a recreation department liaison who maybe comes to our meetings whenever we have them, or maybe someone is feeding them information and saying, these are the new classes, giving them a focus for them to.
So I'll give you an example. We try to connect with the PTA at Harvard, but it depends on the president, whether they allow us or not. So we tried to do that earlier in the school year at Harvard to disseminate information, and they told us that we couldn't. Because they don't want to give preferential treatment to the city and not Chinese school when they ask them. So we got into that kind of a situation where we didn't get permission, but we have reached out and we have tried. So it just depends, I think, on the president who allows us
Is
to
the
do that.
PTA president?
Yeah.
But the PTA president, it's not up to the PTA president, it's up to the principal and the school board.
No, they're
It's supposed to be, but
Oh, they're meeting, okay.
anyway, I just want to say, I know they try, and I know every school is different, and every year is different. Even I try to help. It depends on who's the president, who put the agenda, how they wanted everything. But anyway, I just want to say that recreation, we have to work together with school, with the city, with all the Rotary and City Club, and even Chinese Club. The goal is that not to reinvent, but to collaborate what they're already doing, and then see whether we can reduce the cost to the recreation department. I think the goal is that if you can reduce the cost, you still do a very good programming and then really bring up the revenue. I think once we can hit that, a lot of program will still be ongoing. So I just want to use that as a way, see whether you can reduce your marketing expense, but by telling city that this is the requirement in order for us to work together. We need to have a city commitment, we need to have a school commitment, we need to have all that commitment in order to make the marketing work.
Yeah, there can be synergy, right? Because I know both.
We have one liaison, but it's not here, it's from school. But I'm just saying, the school board probably doesn't know how to make that information chew down the level of the PTA, right? But how do we make it become consistently, not because each president changed, the system change. I know, it's been many years I try to help too, but every year PTA change, right? So it's hard for you. And so anyway, that's all I just want to add in.
But good points, thank you.
So Gisette, you're close to perhaps coming up with a list of programming and then assigning numbers.
Right.
Sure.
Is your thought then perhaps maybe at the next meeting in March to go ahead and then share your numbers and all the programming, and then we chime in and say, yes, this looks good, is that sort of, and then does that ultimately?
You should already finish
Does that work
by
with your
then.
timeline?
It's gonna go to council
First.
before it's gonna
Okay.
go
Yeah,
here.
yeah, they're gonna get
Okay.
it first.
Okay,
It's okay with us.
so if it goes to council, then
Yes,
Then is there still needed input from us if council is then deciding at that point, or is council then looking at that and
I-
pointing back and say, hey, go get the Recreation Commission?
I don't,
Thoughts?
I
Uh-huh.
haven't thought that through, but I don't think
Okay.
it's gonna come back to the commission, it's gonna go to council, they're gonna
Okay.
make some decisions,
Right.
and.
So then you have what you have.
I-
You have our authority, right?
Yes.
Proceed, run with your
Our
recommendations.
yeah,
Yeah,
advice.
because today was the day to
Guidance,
give me
right.
everything that you
Perfect.
could give
Okay.
me.
so are we done to adjourn the meeting?
That guy.
Sorry, I have to go pick
Look
up
at
kids,
me. That guy.
Yes, unless anybody says otherwise, let me go ahead and go through the last few parts. As I'm flipping through my pages, does anybody else have any other comments? No comments, okay. So all public writings distributed by the City of San Marino to at least a majority of the Recreation Commission regarding any item on this agenda will be made available at the Recreation Department located at Stillman at 1560 Pascalito Drive, San Marino, California, 91108. So with that, I don't get a sense that we have public comments, so considering the public's not here. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. The San Marino Recreation Commission will adjourn to a regular meeting to be held on Monday, March 23rd, next month, here in the Thorne Conference Room at 7 p.m. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.